council.
Okay, let's call to order the meeting of what is it, today's March 17th Plan Commission. Happy St. Patrick's Day for everybody. And my name's Jeff Berman. I'm vice chair filling in tonight for Mr. Luke, who couldn't be here, so everybody be kind. So we're going to, and what I should too point out is that the Plan Commission is an advisory council to the village board. Most decisions are not final tonight. They still have to go before the village board. What are final is any parking determination cases, which we have a couple tonight, which we have final authority on. So we will be voting and those determinations will stand. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Matei, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Franklin, all in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, the minutes pass. And so tonight we are going to be hearing 3 separate cases, and within those are various sub-cases. And so the first is a parking determination at 9701 Tripp, 2022-04P. And can we combine it, Carrie, with 05P, which is a site plan approval?
Yes.
So I'll turn it over to you.
And I'll just say for the record that notice is proper and correct for these 2 cases.
Thank you, Council.
Terry, did you need the applicant?
Usually the applicant goes first.
Yes, the applicant should present.
Oh, okay, so like I said, be kind. Is the applicant here for the case on Tripp?
Yes.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm Marlene Hodges. I live in Willowbrook, 761 Ruth Lake Court in Willowbrook. And I am here for Orchard Village, which is at 7660 Grosse Pointe Road. It is right next to the school district. Orchard Village.
Can I, 1 minute, is there anyone else that's going to be presenting tonight?
Not
Okay, can you
from-
raise your right hand, we're going to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, but the truth in your testimony?
Yes, so help me
Okay,
God.
thank you. Go ahead,
Orchard,
I'm sorry, present your case.
Orchard Village just celebrated our 50th anniversary. We're in our 50th year. And Orchard Village maintains group homes for adults with developmental and other disabilities. Some of the houses that we have the agency has owned for a very long time. And really they're too small to reasonably house 6 to 8 men. We recently bought a very wonderful 6-bedroom house at 9701 Tripp. 6-bedroom, 4-bath. It's a wonderful house, and that we're hoping to move our clients in. We're putting a fire sprinkler system in, a very sophisticated smoke detector system, painting, getting it all ready. And we would like to be able to use all 6 bedrooms with unrelated adults, and to have 2 staff on duty anytime the clients are home. The clients almost all go somewhere during the day, so they're home typically from 4 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the evening until 8:30 the next morning. So they're going during the day, and we have staff at night. And typically the only cars that would be around the house would be the 1 or 2 staff people and 1 vehicle for the house itself, that the agency has a house vehicle. So we are applying to be able to, this is a wonderful corner house that has a garage that's facing the street next to it, so there could be 2 staff cars, 1 or 2 staff cars parked in the driveway, and that there really shouldn't be any problem. So we're hoping to be able to occupy the house.
Great. I have a couple questions, if you don't mind. In reading the documents, the case, it seemed at one point, perhaps in the real estate listing, it was suggesting there's 5 bedrooms and then somewhere else it was listed that there was 6.
The real estate listing had it as 5, but there's a bedroom that has a bath that they called, on the original plans, a toy room. We don't really need a toy room. It's a wonderful above-grade room, and that we'd like to use as a bedroom. Has 2 closets, very nice space.
And is there double occupancy, since you're saying there's gonna be 6 people in, I'm sorry, 8 people in, with 6 bedrooms? Are some of the bedrooms double occupancy?
1 bedroom, there are 2 gentlemen who have been sharing a room for years and years and years, for a very long time. It is likely that we would only have 7, but we would like to apply for 8, just because. So there would be at least one bedroom with double occupancy. These 2 men have lived in the same room for many years.
Okay, and what's typical on a weekend with visitors from family, in terms of if you have 7 occupants in a house, how many cars or what have you do you wind up with on Saturdays or Sundays or evenings?
The guys like to go out, and, if anyone will take them out. It's unfortunate that their families don't come by much. They do have occasional visitors, but this isn't a bunch of college guys. This might be a couple visitors, but not many. Kind of, sort of, unfortunately.
Anyone else have questions for the petitioner?
I have just, is there anything about this operation, you're obviously moving to a different, better facility theoretically. Is there anything about the operation in this new location that would be different from what you've done in the past or at other locations?
No. It's just, we feel strongly about trying to give our clients as much as possible their own rooms, and more bathrooms. So same, but just trying to upgrade the quality of life that we can provide.
Thank you. All right, Carrie?
Do I get to sit down?
You're allowed to sit down if you like. Or you could stay here if you want to.
All right, thank you. So I'm asking that cases, the staff reports for cases 2022-04P for parking determination and 2022-05P for site plan approval be accepted into the record as written.
Accepted.
Okay, thank you. So we are here tonight because the home could accommodate a congregate living facility as 4 or fewer bedrooms. Because there are more than 4, in this case 6, a site plan approval is required, and also because of the of this size of house, also a parking determination needs to be made. So there was an engineering firm that did the parking evaluation, looked at the site, and then also conditions on street parking at various times, and concluded that 2 on-site parking spaces would be necessary for this property, and there's ample on-street parking should visitors come, and also at staff changes, there's ample parking, and the engineering staff accepted the recommendation of 2. And then also site plan approval, because it's a larger home, just want to make sure that we have, make sure that it's not a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. This home is at least 800 feet away from any other congregate living facility, which is one of our requirements, and also a state distance requirement as well. And the building design, it was originally designed as a tri-level home with the lower level below grade, but somehow it was built so it, the lower level is actually at or above grade. So we can consider, there are 4 bedrooms on the upper level, and then there's 2 bedrooms on the lower level, and they can be considered bedrooms per village code because the floor level is at least at or above grade. And the bedrooms also have closets as well, so another feature to call it a bedroom. Complete streets, it's fairly walkable, so we looked into walking, biking as possible options, either for visitors or staff, transit, and also possibly for the residents as well. The village forester feels that there's room for one more parkway tree along Payne Street, so her recommendation is that the trees that are there now are great, but there's an opportunity for one more, so that is recommended as part of like the landscape plan for this property. Bless you. Staff recommends that the petitioner's request for site plan approval be approved based upon the proposed findings of fact in the report and subject to the recommended site plan approval conditions below. We do have one request before the case goes before the Board of Trustees, and that's submitting a scaled landscape plan identifying the location of the existing parkway trees and then plus one new parkway tree along Payne Street. Site and use, some special ones specific for this site. The garage must always be available to accommodate 2 parking spaces. The van for the residents should be parked in the garage or improvements be made so the site can accommodate the van being parked on site when not in use. Any vehicle parked on the driveway must not obstruct or overhang the public sidewalk. There's at least 18 feet between the garage and the side and the property line, so that should be able to be accommodated. And the rest of the conditions are standard conditions. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Either of the two cases for staff? Sherry, on the site plan, which I see as date 19, I agree with that picture, there is a garage.
Oh, yes.
Because I see on the plaque that says new garage, so that is completed and done.
Yes, that was constructed in 2019. It replaced an existing garage, and they did set it back a little farther to make sure we had that 18-foot distance, which is a standard depth for a parking space in Skokie.
Any other questions?
Actually, I just have one question. I have seen the house. I have
Mhm.
not seen the van. Does it fit in the garage? Do we know that?
Does the van fit in the garage?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes,
Actually, you could come up here too.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
just very quickly, I was just wondering if the van fits in the garage or if it would tend to be on the driveway.
The van is a minivan.
Oh, okay.
It's not a stretch, it's not, plain minivan, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments that would like to come up and ask them? On this case, these two cases? Okay, great. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to accept the staff report for 2022-04-P parking determination at 9701 Trip. Is there a motion to accept the staff report as presented? Is there a second?
Second.
Cindy, Commissioner Franklin has been seconded, so we'll do a vote then. Okay, Peter, your first vote. Peter Osley?
I'm in favor, aye.
Okay, Mike, Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Matei?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Is there, so motion passes. Is there, in this instance, is a parking determination, that's a final decision. On case 2022-5P, site plan approval at 9701 Trip, is there a motion to accept the report as presented?
Motion to approve 2022-05P site plan approval with the staff recommendation.
Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Matei. And again, we'll go for a vote. Commissioner Osley?
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
And Commissioner Matei?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that one now will have to go through in front of the village board. The date is to be determined. Is that correct? Okay. And that'll be published. Okay. So next we turn to cases 2022-06P, parking determination for 7040 Laramie and 2022-07P site plan approval for 7040 Laramie. And Carrie, you're, present, but
Set
first,
up here.
are the petitioners here?
Yes.
I see at least one in the back. And Counselor, was notice proper and complete?
Yes, notice is proper and correct for both cases.
Thank you. And are you folks going to be the only two testifying today?
We have a herd here, so we have.
So maybe we'll get everybody, those that start, you want to all introduce yourselves and get your name and address into the record, and then we'll swear you all in.
Go one by one. My name is George Zamarakis with Arkin Associates, the architects for School District 72. My address is 2068 Northridge Avenue, Arlington Heights.
I'm Cindy Whitaker. I'm the superintendent at Fairview School District 72, and my home address is 240 Old Farm Road in Northfield.
My name is Jeff Fair. I'm the assistant superintendent at Fairview School District 72, and my address is 1711 Chapel Court in Northbrook.
And my name is Steve Corcoran with Erickson Engineering. We're the engineers for the site. And our address is, or my address is 145 Commerce Drive in Grace Lake.
Okay, great. And this time, maybe I'll get it right. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the evidence that you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to present the cases? And we're combining them together, if that's okay with you, so go ahead and kind of talk about the cases in whole.
Yeah, I think they're going to entrust me to do the speaking, even though they know sometimes I go really long, so I apologize if it happens. Thanks for having us tonight. We're actually really excited to be here this evening to present to you kind of what our plan here is for Fairview South School District 72. This is actually a plan that was started about a year ago when we started the master planning process for the district, where we opened up questions to the community, students, staff, and really everyone involved in the neighborhood to understand where the future needs and growth should happen at the school. And the things that came of it really were issues that evolved from capacity. The existing building was actually bursting at the seams with space, of using every inch and nook and cranny of the building for education purposes. Looking at how curriculum has evolved and understanding that programs have expanded since the infancy of the district, and programs are always evolving and growing in the school, that they want to be able to provide the right services for their students and community members. And really looking at safety and security throughout the site from a circulation perspective inside the building and outside the building. Those were kind of the big key factors. As we learn more and more about the type of services that the school would like to provide, we learned that preschool was a key component that was kind of off-site and remote from the existing building, and trying to bring those students all into one property and bringing everyone in there from pre-K all the way through 8th grade into one building, and unifying their motto of one district, one Fairview. I look back, so. So really what you're seeing here today is as we learned kind of the issues at hand, we went through many iterations and publicly presented these options as we got through to the final plan that we are seeing before you. And really it boiled down to adding 2 major additions onto the site. We wanted to make sure we were being respectful of all our surrounding areas, especially off of Laramie and how tight the property is. So one of the key things as we early stages met with staff was one through multiple iterations to make sure that we are not asking for any relief, we're not asking for any variances. We want to make sure we abided by the rules and conformed with everything. And kind of here's where the final product is. We are looking to build 1 2-story addition, I could probably use the mouse, off of Laramie right here, which is kind of the area where there, if you're familiar with the site, is their existing library that is kind of sticking out on site right in the front of the property. That would go down to allow us to build a 2-story piece that would complement the existing 2-story addition that was built in 2003. So a lot of the design philosophies were how to make sure we're respectful of everything, the existing aesthetic. We went through the appearance commission to show them how those will look, and we'll be able to show you those. They're in your documents, but we'll have them here too, of making sure we complement the existing facade. And at the south side, building an addition that would be the primary wing, that would be their pre-K and kindergarten, with their own private entrance, and really keep that circulation remote from the rest of the circulation around the property. The design aesthetics, again, was to unify from this northwest or northeast corner all the way down to the south to the back gymnasium. So now as you were to look at it, you would see one building that looks like it all was built at one time, right? from a circulation standpoint, it solved a lot of issues inside, getting students around the school to gymnasiums, cafeterias, and really minimizing that cross-traffic from the youngest kids to the oldest kids, and making sure we can easily separate them and not have that interference as they're going for their different programs from art, music, gymnasium athletics. On the exterior perspective, the other key part that you see before you is the parking. Steve Corcoran did a lot of analysis of how their site is being utilized and kind of the constraints that they have on their existing parking lot. And what we're proposing is to expand their existing parking lot to house 129 stalls in the back with buses and help remedy a lot of circulation issues on their property from a vehicular standpoint. So not only is this parking lot going to help congestion and making sure everything is parked on site by being above and beyond the everyday requirements, as you saw, I think 119 is the requirements, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Carrie, when you get there, but I'm getting there. But really also giving them more queuing on property for vehicular traffic, buses, parent traffic along the front, so it can help minimize any congestion happening on Laramie. It's trying to make an existing condition better is kind of their goal, right? From a site perspective, that second parking drive would be used more for pre-K and K, so they have off-peak demand hours as the rest of the building, and kind of pulling them away gives a little more freedom for parents to be able to step out, take the little ones out, unbuckle them and getting them into the site. That's a longer process than the quick drop off, I want to get off my car as fast as possible, running to school, as the rest of the students would be doing, right? We took the whole site in consideration to make sure it was flowing very appropriately for the school needs. This is kind of a glimpse of the second story. Here is giving you that aesthetic, and I would give you a challenge to say what's new and what's old as you look at this, and that was part of our goal that we feel that we've been successful in, and I think the Parents Commission saw the same voting on that, or a consensus on, where the existing building on 2 stories on the right, our 2-story pieces on the left, mimicking the same aesthetics as that building, so it kind of looks uniform in design. And as you get toward the south end of the addition, creating a nice anchor that has the same vocabulary as their main entrance to show off that the entire east elevation off Laramie is uniform. As you get to the south side of the addition, we are mixing the same types of vocabulary, a mixture of stucco and brick in the facades. And one of the key comments of the Parents Commission was if we can reduce some of the stucco and add more of the brick, and that was one of the things that we addressed accordingly to help kind of separate what was front administration purposes to what was classroom. That was kind of minimizing that. That was our answer to that question. Giving a little more tighter perspectives on that front Laramie view. This is that 2-story piece with that front plaza. The existing building has a nice plaza right next to the main entrance that is used for queuing of students and kind of a gathering space for coming in and out of the building or getting picked up. We also see this as a nice inviting environment for any type of night functions that would be utilized. Directly behind this is a library and a community space that can be utilized off-peak hours. So we wanted to make sure we had a nice little entrance to there. If you go down to the southeast corner, this is that anchor point of that multi-purpose zone with that other drop-off area. And again, same vocabulary as the rest of the building. And at the end of the day, the goal was to create something that's nice and inviting for the community to be able to pass by, but also be in line with the needs of the district and being cost efficient. Here's kind of more bird's eye view of that plaza zone that I was talking about at the front. Here's the existing main entrance, and here's the start of the addition. And I believe here's a more zoomed in look, and luckily that is the last slide. As far as the staff comments, I know we've been working hand in hand at kind of making sure we are addressing all the needs, and Carrie's been kind enough to share with us all the types of comments from the forester and other items that are on that list that you see, and we have already spoken with the district, and we are agreeable to pretty much everything on there. So if you're going to say, do you comply, we will easily say yes. But yes, and that is the end. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, I ask that case 2022-06P parking determination and 2022-07P site plan approval be accepted into the record as written. I will also add 2 additional verbal amendments to the reports, but it's an addition, not modifying. So this plus a few bonus items. So the parking determination is because there is an auditorium use within the property, and we need to make sure the ample parking is provided on the cases of when it's used. The plan is that it would be just used for basically 1 day a year for 8th grade graduation. So that was some of the thinking behind the recommendation. An engineering firm prepared the parking study and concluded that there would be a need for 107 staff and faculty parking spaces, plus 7 pre-K or daycare parking for a total of 114. The site plan does show 129 parking spaces. There may be a need to reduce those to provide some parking lot parking lot trees within within there. So it might be reduced a little, but definitely not less than the 114 that is recommended. And the engineering division did accept the 114 full-time on-site parking spaces. The auditorium can accommodate up to 522 people, so that comes out, and the standard parking ratio for that is roughly 1 space for every 3 seats. And so they made a great effort to actually accommodate 174 total parking spaces on site. Actually, I should probably. We'll do this. All right. And so I commend them for that. It was quite the feat. But there are some issues for fire access. So there we go. Oh, we have big slides in here, so bear with me here. Okay. So the fire department expressed concern over having the 8 overflow parking spaces off of Laramie, because that's kind of their command central when they need to access the site. And then also they would plan on following the bus route with their, they call it a squad, through the parking lot and come through here as the buses would. So having these cars parked here would also cause a problem for them. They are great opportunities, especially this would be an event that wouldn't involve the buses. And so it's a great idea, but to ensure emergency access, they wouldn't support the total 16 here. And then also for turning radius purposes, just eliminating 1 out of these 5 just to make sure that the truck can clear the cars in case of emergency. But the other 24 here, and then the remaining 4 here, they were supportive of that as for overflow parking. We would also request that the school district continue to work with the neighbors. There's the private day school to the north and then the college to the west. So those could be opportunities for overflow parking and also for them to coordinate their big events that they don't overlap, so then they can work together to keep most of the parking off-street to minimize the impact on the neighbors. So we're looking at, instead of an overflow or an additional parking of 45, we're looking at an additional 28 temporary or guest spaces for a special event like the 8th grade graduation. So staff recommends that the Plan Commission determine the off-street parking requirement for the school building at 7040 Laramie Avenue be 114 on-site parking spaces. Additional parking may be provided on-site. The 174 spaces identified for the auditorium use should be accomplished with a combination of on-site and off-site parking spaces. Coordination with Hillel Torah Day School and or Hebrew Theological College is the first preference for additional parking arrangements. The 3 neighbors should continue to coordinate schedules, including larger events, to ensure they don't occur at the same time. And any increase in the auditorium seating capacity or mode of operation at the site will require that the parking requirement be reevaluated. And this determination is not transferable to another grade school at this location. So if another school district moves in, that we go through this effort again. And then site plan approval, since the site is more than 1 acre, we're here to obtain approval for the school additions. One of the building design was approved in January of this year by the Appearance Commission. This includes a wall sign, and there's an existing ground sign, and then there's a proposed ground sign. Based on our sign code, residentially zoned properties or for Ely Masonry, hopefully I said that right, uses, you can have one wall sign and one ground sign. And so with the addition of a second ground sign, which is down here near the Early Childhood Center, huge site, but it's not on a corner, so we're looking to request relief from Chapter 82 to enable the second ground sign here, and then also to allow the wall sign to be more than 10 feet above grade. It's a little higher, and just to administratively approve. Aesthetically, it looks great, but based on code, we just need to have that administratively taken care of. Also, as far as parking goes, we also have bicycle parking requirements, which for schools is 10% of the student population. So we'd be looking for 83 bicycle parking spaces to be located on site near entrances where the students would enter. So that comes out to 42 bike racks, because one bike rack can accommodate 2 bicycles. And then engineering requested that a student drop-off pickup operation plan be provided for their files, just to maximize the arrival and dismissal efficiencies. And then the engineer can reference that should any neighbors call and ask questions. Complete streets, again, it's quite walkable near services. The bicycle parking will provide an additional benefit, and there is a section of the school district where students could walk. There's also bus transportation, so not quite carpooling, but transit nonetheless. And so some adjustments will need to be made before this goes to the village board for review and approval. But the staff does recommend that the petitioner's request for site plan approval be approved based upon the proposed positive findings of fact and subject to the recommended site plan approval conditions listed below. This also includes relief from Chapter 82 to allow the wall sign to be more than 10 feet above grade and to allow that second ground sign to identify the new Early Childhood Center ground sign. So prior to the hearing of the case before the Board of Trustees, the petitioners must provide the following. 1A, update the site and landscape plans, including the 83 bicycle parking spaces. They don't have to be all in one spot. They can be at multiple points of entry for students. Update the landscape plan to include 1 parking lot tree per 15 parking spaces, while also being mindful of all the stormwater. Some of the stormwater is planned on being stored underneath the parking lot. Submit a tree removal permit application. Prepare a student drop-off pickup operation plan and submit it to the engineering division. Prepare a special events coordination summary that describes the special event coordination between the 3 neighboring schools, including overflow and guest parking arrangements. And then update the stormwater management plan. And then also, at a future date, submit a subdivision plat application to merge lots at a future plan commission meeting. I would say no later than the end of 2022 for that. And the rest are standard conditions. If you have any questions?
Commissioner Shah is here. Is it this main entrance is on Laramie? Is it the proposed site has a separate entrance? Or they have to use the main entrance?
For the
For the-
preschool?
yes.
The preschool, I believe they come in through here, like kind of through a courtyard. Yes, through
So-
courtyard and then enter over here.
So it's a separate entrance?
Yeah, so it is a separate entrance, though I believe that they can pass through the hallway, so it's kind of all interconnected.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The bus parking, is that blocked
These, is that the bus parking? Yeah.
Is that the exact number of buses you currently have, or are you gonna need extra buses with the extra population?
No, that's for the current number of 5 buses.
And don't anticipate expanding the fleet at all?
No. Yeah, so they have a fleet of, just to repeat, there's a fleet of 5, but there are 6 parking spaces, so it could possibly accommodate an extra bus.
Any other questions for staff or
Are we
petitioner?
just doing questions on, parking determination?
We can do both.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, Carrie.
Mhm.
On the turnaround, or the circular drive for the pre-K drop-off,
Mhm.
is that single lane or can a car pass? Can 2 get through that lane, or is it just single vehicle?
I believe it's single vehicle. It looks pretty narrow to single, yeah.
So there's
But I don't
no
typically,
parking. You're not gonna have parking spots on the side and people go around.
yeah, you're talking about here, yeah.
Yeah, great. So the auditorium only gets used at full capacity once a year. I'm assuming we're using that regularly for school activities and it's not built for a once a year event, right? Correct. Might be a little slow, sorry. And the time, do we have an agreement between the 3 institutions for the parking agreements?
We do not have a, yeah, it's right now verbal, but at least have something in writing, just for
Yes,
our
an agreement
purposes,
that
yeah.
states, as you said,
Mhm.
making sure that we coordinate schedules so that we don't end up with the theological college and the school doing an event. Well, I guess graduation day.
Historically, has there been collaboration on parking anyway?
Yes,
So,
and funny about graduation, often they use our facility for their own much smaller graduations.
Oh.
So we don't conflict with dates. And even the traffic study showing the start times and end times for the 2 different schools and like different clusters of grades, like they're staggered, so I think they've done a pretty good job coordinating so far.
Any other questions for staff or the petitioner?
I have a few.
Commissioner?
The impetus for the parking that we're considering, is it capacity or was it to improve the flow at pickup and drop off?
I would say both.
Right, actually, could you come up, so people can hear? Yeah.
I would say the answer to that is both. Over the years, with the increased enrollment, we've added adult staff members. So currently, we don't have enough parking places for all
Sure.
the adults, but also to improve the flow. If you are ever over on Laramie, around between 3 and 4, it's not a fun place to be.
That's
So we're hoping to correct that issue.
So, and then the concerns from EMS with regard to those parking spaces that are being stripped from the final plan. With that modification, that satisfies their concerns about entering and exiting the
Yes.
property during an emergency?
Yes, yes.
And then with regard to, I know the stormwater management plan is separate, but you referenced it, so I'm gonna ask the question. You said some portion of the water was being retained under the parking. Is that semi-permeable pavers, or how is that being accomplished?
I don't know if you want to switch.
No, this works. Peter, I can go down a good rabbit hole on this one for a while if you'd like, but big picture, a lot of, right now, the way the site is existing designed is they have kind of a depressed area out here that's kind of surface detention, right? It becomes a field that looks great in theory, but most of the time you can't use it because it's always wet. So a lot of that water was running this way and kind of bottlenecking towards the south end of the property. The way that our engineers have redesigned it is to make a situation much better on site. And to do that, they're actually reversing the flow back up north and using underneath that parking lot is all underground detention. So there are going to be contact storm trap that's happening. It's kind of the concept of everything is buried underground. There would be no on-surface detention anymore, so all the green space that is living back here becomes usable all year round for them. So everything that's happening detention-wise is going to be happening under that parking lot. and then slowly having restrictors to feed it back onto Laramie and slow things down before it gets there. So it's gonna do a much better job of holding water on their site and slowly releasing it back onto the public way, which is what is always kind of the target that we do in every project that we create, make things better.
Okay, and then one last question while I've got you. With regard to the trees, there are some existing mature trees that are being demolished in order to accommodate this work?
There are, and there is a couple that are happening in the front
In the
and a couple happening in the south to get us there.
And those are planned to be replaced by?
Oof, I wouldn't want, I'd put words in my landscape architect's design, but they have an abundance of trees that they're looking to supplement in their stead.
Okay.
Quite a few. And I know one of the key things for the school district has been green space and making sure there's a lot of environments for the students outside the building to be able to enjoy. So that was one of our big marching orders, to make sure that we beautify the area around them and give it attractive enough to want students to be out there. So we want to be cognizant of that and design accordingly.
Can I ask a follow-up question to the commissioners? Is that what percentage of the parking lot material, surface material, is permeable water?
Actually, all of it will be asphalt. So it isn't permeable pavers to soak into the ground. It is all piped underneath it. So it'll be a regular asphalt paved drive. And underneath it, there are going to be a lot of pipes that are actually slowing things down and making them seep through the site. It's all underground piping that leads to that tank, if you will, and then it slowly feeds back out into your system. Does that answer that?
Just one follow-up question as well. NWRD approval required because of more than an acre?
Yes.
So
And
flow through NWRD approval for that as well?
And it is belts and suspenders on that. It's village and them at the same time. So our engineers are working with both in tandem to make sure that both are in approval before it goes anywhere.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So, Carrie, anything else for us?
I guess as far as the trees go, just real quick, there is a bond that gets posted, and if enough trees are replanted, then it gets refunded to encourage planting of new trees.
So we'll take each case separately. The first is the parking determination. Keep in mind that we're the final decision on this. So on 2022-06P, parking determination, entertain a motion to accept the staff report as presented.
Motion?
Commissioner Mosley, is there a second? Commissioner Matei? And let's do the vote. Commissioner Mosley, we'll go by name, so. Oh, is there any comment? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't ask for resident comments. Is there any residents here? Or any citizens that would like to make a comment to it? No? None heard? So, Commissioner Mosley?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Matei, and I vote aye. Thank you very much, and again, that is final. And then the second is 2022-07P, site plan approval. This has to eventually go before the village board, and is there any comments on this at all from the audience? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the staff report as presented.
Motion.
Commissioner Osley, Commissioner Matei, and then let's take a vote. Commissioner Osley?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carrie wants to.
You have to add.
And,
Clarify the plat of,
addition.
yeah, the subdivision plat, apply for that before the end of 2022. And then also, the relief for signs.
Okay.
And actually, the new procedure is the relief want to be a separate vote.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So you can have a motion to concur with staff, and then there should be a second motion to provide the relief from Chapter 82 as presented by staff. Unless you don't want to provide the relief, but we do have to bifurcate the relief.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Amend the motion to concur with staff?
Okay, do you concur with seconding the change? Okay, let's vote again on that.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Matei?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. And then for the second motion to accept the modification to 82, Chapter 82?
Aye.
For the sign relief. Commissioner, are you gonna make the motion?
Motion.
Okay, second,
Second.
Commissioner Franklin, and then Commissioner Osley.
Aye.
Commissioner Schott,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Matei. And I'll vote aye. So congratulations, thank you, good luck with your project. You caused that, thanks. Okay, so the next case is our 2022-08P zoning map amendment for 5149, 5153, and 5157 Jarlath. 2022-09P alley vacation at 5051 Tui, and 5149, 5153, and 5157 Jarlath. And 2022-10P, site plan approval for the same addresses. In 2022-11P, special use permit for 5150 Tui. In 2022-12, special use permit for 5150 Tui. Are the petitioners here? Would you mind stepping up, please? Everybody who's going to testify, please come up together. Would you mind, please, for the record, giving us your name and address?
Rena Pinjwani, my office address is 5256 Dempster Street, Skokie, Illinois.
Thank you.
And Steve Culver, office is at 828 Davis Street in Evanston, Illinois.
Thank you. Do you both raise your right hand, please? Do you both solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Counselor, is notice proper and correct?
Yes, notice is proper and correct for all these cases.
Thank you very much. And so, petitioners, would you like to explain your project?
Yes, yes, good evening. Good evening, Vice Chairman, staff, commissioners, and Village of Skokie community members. Like I said, my name is Rena Pinjwani, and I am here to talk about a proposal to add a drive-through to our existing Dunkin' Donuts location. The existing Dunkin' Donuts location is on the right of the screen, so as you most likely are aware, it's a Dunkin' Donuts off of Tui Avenue. This location does not have a drive-through. It's kind of a tight, smaller location, a bit congested, and it's a little bit challenging to navigate. What we are proposing is the location. What we are proposing is on the left, a new Dunkin' Donuts, a brand new location with the drive-through. So a little bit of background about us. So on the left of the screen, you'll actually see that Dunkin' Donuts back in the 90s. That's my dad, who's in the audience right now. So my family, we've owned and operated Dunkin' Donuts locations since 1986. My dad was acting as the manager back in the early 90s. We took over this location in 1991. This is when Dunkin' Donuts had counter service. My mom is acting as a waitress, and the picture on the left there. And then that is what Dunkin' was like back in the 90s. A lot has changed since then. On this side, you'll see myself, my sister, and my brother. We've all joined the family business, and we currently operate all the Dunkin' locations in Skokie. So this is where we're at today. So again, this is our existing location, what it looks like today. And of course, we are currently a non-drive-through. And this has really been a challenge. And it's been a challenge for several years, trying to compete with the increased drive-through coffee competition out there. People have really gotten used to getting their coffee, getting their morning fix from a drive-through, and it's been a changing consumer trend for quite some time now. And that trend was amplified by the pandemic. We saw huge losses in sales, especially in 2020 and early 2021 when dining rooms closed. At the highest, we saw 70% loss in sales because we did not have a drive-through. And so that has really motivated us to move forward with this development and try to figure out how to build a drive-through on this facility. And so we know that, I mean, it was amplified by the pandemic, but we know that a drive-through is vital for the long-term sustainability of this location. So as you can see on top here, I'll start talking a little bit about now what we're proposing. So back 2015 and 2016, we started this conversation with staff. I don't remember if Carrie was there, but it was Pete Pyer, and the team there, and we talked about how we can assemble a drive-through here. And, we talked about using the alley and the existing Dunkin', and staff basically told us that the only way that this would be possible is if you were to acquire all 3 of the houses, which, was a task in and of itself. But we were able to acquire all 3 houses that sit directly behind the location. They have addresses on Jarlett, so it's 5149 Jarlett, 5153 Jarlett, and 5157 Jarlett. And so of course, our ultimate goal was to be able to make a drive-through on the facility. That would also require a vacation of the public alley that sits in between our existing Dunkin' Donuts and the 3 residential properties. So if you see this almost rectangle shape there, I can this would be the full area of the redevelopment. And this is the synagogue on the right side here, and this is where the existing Dunkin' Donuts property is. And this is the 3 houses in the back here. These are the 3 garages. This is the alley right here. So now I'm going to show you side by side of what we're proposing, and then I'll take a few minutes to actually go into detail about the site plan. But I wanted you guys to have kind of a side by side view to make sure that it was very clear. So in the front here, on the bottom of the 2 pictures, that's where TUI is. Then you have the existing Dunkin' Donuts, you have the existing alley, and then the 3 houses. So this is, the 3 houses are shown to be completely demolished, and a new Dunkin' Donuts, we build a new Dunkin' Donuts right here that's kind of longer with the drive-through wrapping around the front. So I'm going to move on to the, I was hoping the site plan would look a little bit bigger, but this is the new site plan. So we have, and I'll walk you through some of the features of the site plan. And I don't know if they're allowed to ask questions during, or if we need to wait, but you can let me know if there's questions during. I'm happy to stop if that's okay for the commission.
We'll get all our questions in, so.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So I'm just gonna kind of go through how the site plan works. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the north, and I wanna point out a few things. The Jarlett would remain exactly as existing. So especially for the neighbors, I want to make sure you guys know that Jarlett will not have any changes. Jarlett currently dead ends and will continue to dead end. We are not creating any access points on Jarlett, which is the residential street directly to the north of the facility. So Jarlett will continue to dead end. The lawn and the existing trees will all remain. The sidewalk will remain. We are proposing to add a fence near the property line. It would be a board-on-board fence, a board-on-board cedar fence that we are proposing. So hopefully it would kind of look a little bit like a backyard when you look at it. Okay, what we did, we've gone through a lot of iterations of this site plan. My architect here, is probably not very happy about all of the iterations that we went through, but we really wanted to be cognizant of like you try to think of everything, right? You try to think of everything, and you want to make sure that your site plan, addresses the needs of the community, that your site plan addresses the needs of a Dunkin' and Baskin Robbins and the site and traffic. So a couple of things that we did very purposefully are, so that the speaker and menu board are located as far from the north residents as possible. So the speaker and menu board are closer to TUI, so that any noise would be dissipated by the time it gets to any residents to the north or the east. And then of course any resident to the south, there would be no noise crossing over TUI. The drive-through lanes, they wrap around the front of the building like this. So I know typically a restaurant would probably wrap around this way, but we wanted to make sure the menu boards were away from the customers, were away from the residents, excuse me. The drive-through lanes go like this. We're gonna restrict outbound from Tui. So right now, a car can exit onto busy Tui Avenue and do whatever maneuvers they choose to do, but with this plan, we do restrict outbound and we only allow inbound from Tui Avenue. So Tui customers would drive around this way, and if they're going to the drive-through, they would park here. The Laramie Access, we do have challenges with this existing Laramie Access. It does cause a lot of on-site congestion, because if you're in the parking lot and you're exiting and then there's a car stopped on Laramie, if that second car exits, everybody else gets stuck on site. So we did move the Laramie, we didn't add a Laramie Access, but we moved our existing Laramie Access north. And keep in mind, this area north of Laramie does also dead end here. There's no access to residential traffic here. This is the Holiday Inn to this side, and then there's the parks across the north. But for vehicular traffic, it does dead end to the north. There are no changes. I did get some questions about the existing residential and commercial alleys here. So the alley itself dead ends, so there's actually no real changes to the residential and commercial alleys that abut the property, except for the fact that a small portion of it, we would request to have vacated, but it's already dead. It already dead ends existing. We have our trash enclosure is shown here. This is a robust trash enclosure it's not just a fence, but it's an actual masonry with proper fencing to help protect and ensure that trash is contained in the trash enclosure. We're also committing, as part of this, to make sure that the area stays clean, we are committing to increasing trash removal. Currently, we have it at three times per week, and we are committing to increase that either to 4, 5, or 6, depending on the need. But we are committing to increase the trash removal from what we currently have. Okay. We are requesting parking relief. I made this quick drawing. So right now, the village code requires 10 parking spots per 1,000 square foot of net floor area. I just wanted to kind of briefly share with you the amount of back-of-house delivery, catering, baking, storage that we have on site. So all of this yellow is our back-of-house kitchen. So we are really trying to do more baking on site. We're trying to do fresh donuts more often, fresh bagels, fresh muffins, fresh croissants. So you name it, we want to do it on site. We want fresh cakes. There's like novelty Baskin-Robbins items coming. We hope that we're also able to improve delivering and catering capacity, and all of those are non-parking generators, right? It requires more space on the inside, but it doesn't require more parking space on the outside, right? Everything is just giving us space to be able to work and do what we need to do to ensure the viability of our location. And we're also really trying hard to make sure our drive-through runs fast. So there's a lot of Dunkin' equipment that you need in order to get a 90-second drive-through. With this layout, we're able to get everything we need optimally positioned. It really helps us so that we can reach those really fast drive-through times. Also, we're going to be doing a lot of mobile ordering. So the brand is coming out with what, I don't know if this is allowed to talk about, but the brand will be coming out with something called frictionless technology. So if you order on your cell phone, the drive-through will recognize you automatically. So you don't have to say anything, do anything, but they'll be able to use the technology that's on your phone to be able to catch you right away. So we need all of the different VDUs and components on the inside to be able to accommodate that type of artificial intelligence that the brand is looking at. So none of those things require additional parking, and but just because we're using more square footage, the village code requires this parking. So right now we are at the current code requires 34 spots, and with this parking that we designed along Laramie and on site, we're at 29 spots. Just a couple of quick notes. We are maintaining all the trees on Tui and Jarlett. Any trees that will be removed on Laramie for those additional 6 spots will be added back to the site. Duncan is very focused on sustainability. I'm just highlighting a couple of quick initiatives that we have that are easy to understand. All of our lighting, when we do construction, all the lighting will be LED efficient. The paint will be with zero VOCs so that the air is clean and healthy. We are using all our HVAC units, will be high efficiency. And as you all know, we did remove the foam cups back in 2020. Mostly people are happy about that, but we do still get some complaints. But the new paper type cup that we use is much more biodegradable. These are a look at the elevations, and I don't know if Steve, if you want to. This is my principal architect.
So the elevations of the building themselves reflect the typical next gen, is what Duncan calls it, elements of design. You see these buildings starting to pop up now. It's brand new, and all the new buildings are going to look like this. We had stretched some things out because the length of the building to fit the site and to accommodate the extra storage space that Rena and Ray was looking for. It just became a lot longer, so we added the elements and wrapped it around accordingly. Your packet probably reflects that on the north end. You see the DDs that's over the primary entrance for people to come into the store. Those have been asked to be removed, as well as the Skokie runs on Duncan that you see in the middle of the east elevation, and we're happy to do that. So those three signs have been removed from the project. But the elements and the components and the finishes, it's all cementitious siding or boards. But all the elements, the signage, the marquee in the front, that's all typical Duncan stuff that you've probably seen in other locations. We just tried to apply it accordingly to this location.
We do have some of the 3D renderings too that were done.
Oh, and the addition of the covered canopy at the residential side for people who are dining in.
Yeah, so this is I don't know if I spoke about this, but this is the patio area here that we would be proposing with the covered canopy. And then this is the drive-through menu boards towards Toohey Avenue. Similar to like the Chick-fil-A operation down the road.
Oh, and one thing also, just for elevation purposes, you'll see on the south elevation, the glassy element there, that's really going to be just a display window. It's the back of the kitchen, it's storage, but we added about a 3-foot area there for display purposes, so it has a better street frontage. You're not looking at the back of the building.
Questions for petitioners?
You referenced the drawing of the floor plan when you highlighted in yellow your back from space.
And service area.
Front area, your customer area, how many square feet is that?
It's like 900. Yeah, I think we were around like 800 or 900 square feet. But
Sorry. Okay, with that, number of staff typically at site?
864. Sorry.
Great.
We are so the dining area is 864 square feet.
Okay, and then the number of staff on site typically?
So our staffing varies. So during the morning peak is when we have our most staff. So we expect about 8 team members in the morning, and then it varies throughout the day. So between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. we expect 8 people, but then at about like 8 p.m. it's probably 3 people. So it varies throughout the day.
Okay.
Based on sales.
And I'll have a question for Carrie eventually, but the outside patio, what's the square feet on that? Because that's customer in theory, right?
Yeah,
Well, in reality.
it's probably about 400 square feet.
Okay. That's all I got. My question was related to the parking determination in particular. So the way the formula is now, what's the total square feet we're basing the parking determination on, Carrie?
Yeah, it's, there's 10 spaces for every 1,000 square feet, and it's around, what, 3,300?
Okay, but we're determined that a lot of that is really back office or back room operations.
Yeah.
So looking at this at 1,200 square feet, that's taking into consideration the seatable area for customers at 860 and another 400, we'd be well below.
Yeah, we have a parking requirement that covers all restaurants. So if it's a sit-down restaurant, you know, which would have a big dining room, it's the same parking requirement as a restaurant like this.
Great.
And I think we need to evaluate that and maybe change that.
Indeed, because it's really based on the customer area, right?
Yeah, and, you know, the focus on drive-through too, that's something that we've seen, particularly through the pandemic. We've seen a couple of drive-throughs recently. I think coming out of the pandemic, if we want to grow our economy stronger, it's something that we're gonna have to take a look at, so.
Yeah, in some respects, it's a follow-up to what Commissioner Matei asked, but I'm gonna bundle all of my questions together, which start from the core assumption, right? So you suggested the motivation was to facilitate the drive-through, basically the evolution of the business model.
Yes.
So I presume that part of that evolution is an increase in sales. An increase in sales, as you sort of suggested, theoretically would increase the trash. And so you're talking about increasing the amount of pickup. So I'm curious about that. And then the other part of that would be staff. So you talked a bit about the existing staff for the operation. Is the staff?
That's the new, right now our current, like our 5, if you walk in, that would be like adding,
So
yeah.
that's my question.
Yeah.
Could you re-articulate the net add to the trash pickup and affirm whether that is a commitment or something that you're looking at?
Oh, we're
And then
absolutely gonna, so right now we're at 3 times a week. So we will absolutely commit to doing at least 4 times, if not 6 times per week. So we will absolutely commit to increasing trash pickup. It just depends on the volume. So we do have locations that where the volume warrants 6 days a week pickup. And it depends. So if I expect we'll at least be at 4, but if it warrants 6, we'll get to 6 as well.
Okay, so that was one prong of the question. The second prong, which I think you've already said, which is an affirmation that the net increase has a positive impact on the overall staffing.
We will increase overall staffing.
So then the third prong related to an increase in businesses,
The-
shipping and deliveries. What is the increase in the frequency of deliveries,
Sure.
truck traffic, all of that other fun stuff?
Sure, I think that's a good question. So there is no increase in deliveries because it'll be the increase in the volume that comes with each delivery. But so we have, so for example, we have our dry goods deliveries currently 1 to 2 times a week, depending on the season. And we did do a turning radius. I think that to ensure that the trucks can enter and exit the site. So the trucks that are used for the dry goods delivery can enter from Tui and then exit off Laramie. So that would be the same, like the number of deliveries would be the same. So delivery for dry goods, paper goods, all the Dunkin' items are once or twice a week. We get Baskin deliveries for ice cream. That is in summer seasons once a week, but winter it could be once a month. But those will not change. All those deliveries will remain the same. It's just the quantity that comes with each order. Because we're a franchise, we have very strict ordering guidelines. We can't just order from anywhere. That doesn't change. We have very specific. Like we have one distribution facility we can order from, and one ice cream manufacturer we can order from, and that's it.
I have a few questions. I'm sorry, you want to go ahead, Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, I want to go quick. How many drive-in window you will have?
It's a good question, I think, as well. So we currently are showing 3 drive-through windows. So the first window is a pay-only window. I don't know if there's a good shot of it anywhere. Let's see. Okay, I think I can maybe kind of point them out here, even though they're not as well highlighted. But so we have, let me see if there's just one more drawing. Yeah, see, this is a good? Yeah. Okay, so we have one pay window that's approximately here, where customers during peak hours.
You can see it's the one above that. You see where
Here,
the drive is shaded a bit?
Here.
For the pickup windows, that's done in concrete because the car's stopping there more often, so that concrete area
There it is.
shows you the 3 spots that'll allow and there's 40 feet between each window, so it's a car at a window, then a car that's standing, waiting, and then there's a car at a window, and then the third, well, Rena will explain what the third window is.
Yeah, so this is here's the mouse again. Okay, so this is the first window, which is only going to be used during our peak operations. This is for a pay window for fast, easy, and if you order on the mobile app, you can skip this window altogether. But this is if you're stopping here, you're paying here, or you just pass through to the pickup window, which is right here. So all cars will get to this point. This third window is reserved for like large orders. So if somebody goes through and orders 3 dozen donuts, if they order a cake, you can pick all of that up at the third window, and the employee doesn't have to actually leave the restaurant to deliver it to you. They can just deliver it to you at the third window.
Thank you. I'm a frequent customer, your Dunkin', you know.
Thank
I
you.
love Dunkin' coffee, so good
this-
luck.
I hope this improves the overall operation.
So, my question had to do with the deliveries again. What is the route around of the deliveries, and where are deliveries made? Where are they off?
Okay, yeah, so this is the truck. Okay, so during, our goal is always to have deliveries made during, like off-peak Dunkin' times. So off-peak Dunkin' times are generally like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And so we would, here we go. This truck would enter here. They would park here. Okay, and then they would bring the load to the back area right here. And this would, of course, have to be, our goal would be not to affect the drive-through operations, so we might temporarily restrict parking for a little bit during the deliveries, but the drive-through would remain open.
So I have a couple questions. So on the east side, on the alley that runs from north to south, will there be a board-on-board fence there as well?
Yes. Yes.
So perpetuating the kind of the perception of a yard all
Yeah.
the way around?
Yeah,
Okay.
this neighbor, yes, also has a fence just to the east of us. But yes, the board-on-board fence will go. There is a small gap as requested by staff for the site triangle at the corner of the property, but it will extend the entire east length and the entire north length right here. So from here, and then we have a small gap for the site triangle purpose, and then it'll go this way.
Okay. And staff parking will be on site?
Yeah, right now we have more than enough parking. I mean, so we operate other drive-through locations, and during the pandemic, we used the parking for Patio because we, like in Niles, because we had so many parking spaces. You'd be surprised as to how few people actually now stop and go inside and get coffee. And so really the parking is for, those people that are doing like the big orders in the morning, or the people that actually have a particular craving of a particular type of donuts, or for their staff. But we have at night, right, when the families come for the Baskin for the evening, we hope that's when they'll be using the parking, and that's when we have the least amount of staff, because we don't need that many team members to accommodate the Baskin sales.
All right, and then in the write-up, there was hours of deliveries, and I'm thinking you answered this, but just to make sure, the hours of deliveries are basically staying the same as they were before?
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we always have to work with the vendors to make sure that they come at the times that we tell them, but the goal is that the deliveries happen after the Dunkin' rush and before the Baskin rush, so that there's the least amount of staff and least amount of customers on site. So that would generally be after, if I give it a bigger window, it'd have to after 11. But our goal is 2 to 5 p.m.
Okay. And then my last question deals with the condition of the property relative to trash. My family's a frequent user of your product in your stores too, and frequently the trash cans are overflowing and there's trash on the pavement.
Yeah.
And this one is next to a residential area and also a park. And I'm concerned about it at any store, but this one in particular, since we're having some say in it now, is what's your plan for making sure that property stays clean?
Yeah, I think the existing fence that was built, you know, I think we probably could have done a better job of making sure that that was employee-friendly to use. It's really challenging to operate. It's, you know, one of the conditions that we observed on site when we were looking at a trash being a concern. And so that's why we made this very employee-friendly as well.
But I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about litter.
Oh, just,
Litter across your property, garbage cans being, there's a 4-hour requirement
yeah.
in any of your properties or any restaurant in town that has trash bins in it, that the property be physically policed every 4 hours.
Yeah, actually, we have a much more stringent requirement with our staff. So our, we call them travel pads. It's not every 4 hours, it's every half an hour. They're supposed to do one quick look around on the outside. So, I mean, we're gonna continue to enforce that, and then as we see, you know, any exceptions to that, we'll continue to monitor it. But we
And
do
will that
have.
include Laramie, as if customers throw the materials at the curbside and what have you?
Yeah, we currently, I mean, already we make sure that the sidewalk and the sidewalk is cleared and of snow and debris. But yeah, we would continue to make sure, because Laramie is very important, will be very important for our access. It is now and it is moving forward. But yes, we can make sure that we specifically identify Laramie as part of our what we call travel paths when we go outside.
Okay. Matt, you're presenting this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask that the reports be entered into the record as written. That's all 5 reports for this case. Thank you. It's a very complete proposal. I'm just going to point out a few things. First, I want to be sure that you're aware that it is 5 different cases. So you have the rezoning, the alley vacation, the site plan approval, and then 2 special use permits. So be sure you're aware of that. Are these all my cases? Yeah. The other thing, I wanted to be sure that you're aware of the context, and I'll bring up the aerial photograph that was part of your packet. I think it's at the end here. It's at the end of one of them. I'm certain of that. That's special use.
I have an aerial in the PowerPoint as
Oh,
well.
do you? Okay. Did I close that? Yeah. Sorry, it's a little technical difficulty. Well, yeah, so I did want to have kind of a wider view, but, so right now, this is zoned commercial and this is zoned residential. So I want to be sure you're aware of that. Up to this point, it's an expansion of the request is an expansion of the B2 district. So right now, just across Laramie, it's a commercial. You have the hotel and there's a strip center that has Skechers and Pep Boys and Orange Theory in it, and then there's a parking lot in back. But yeah, that is kind of the edge of the B2 district. And so the request is to expand, to essentially expand the B2 district to this point. The request to vacate the alley, as it goes forward to the village board, the applicant will be required to compensate the village in return for the alley vacation. I want to be sure you were aware of that. And then I want to bring up the 2 items for relief. Overall, these are very standard conditions. All of the conditions are standard for the 2 special use permits for the right-of-way vacation and then for the site plan. There is an addition in the site plan that will require essentially a 3-foot expansion of the sidewalk on Tui. It's a 5-foot wide sidewalk per IDOT and village requirements. We're expanding that to an 8-foot wide multi-use path. Essentially, that would accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists. So you wouldn't have a bike lane on Tui. So the idea is that we would have this 8-foot path, you know, all along Tui, and then there's actually Niles Center just to the west is a bike route. So, you know, it's kind of thinking about complete streets and getting people, you know, around without the use of a car. So the other items I want to be sure you're aware of, the relief requirements, the reduction in parking, which we discussed, and then the increase in signage as per the elevations, and it has the Appearance Commission's, you know, requests, which they brought up. So those are the two relief items. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have one question. It seems like there's two things to maybe figure a way to immortalize. One is to include Laramie in their regular inspection of every 4 hours on the property
Yeah.
to make sure it's clean.
Yeah.
And two is to increase the frequency of trash pickup if the village deems it to be necessary.
Yeah, you know, we do get some feedback from neighbors of the Dunkin' on Golf. I haven't heard anything about the one on Dempster, but, you know, these types of places, they do generate trash, and people aren't as careful as, you know, they should be. So, yeah, if it's something that you, you know, think is warranted, then by all means.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns for staff? Any comments from the community? Questions? Would you mind coming up and give us your name and address?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hi. My name is Mary Jo Rosso. It's Rosso. I live at 5156 Jarlath, across the street from the proposed site. I guess my concern is that the three houses that are would be directly looking out onto this are sort of raised. So our first floor is about a half a story up, which means that if we're looking out our front window, that 6-foot fence is doing no good. Like, you're looking right over it. So I want some sort of, like, if you look over on Laramie across the street, there's kind of, to keep us from kind of looking right over Pet Boys, there's kind of a raised area and then very tall trees. So you don't actually see any of that parking lot or the businesses that are right there. It still looks just kind of tree lined. The trees that are immediately across the street, you still see the houses, so I'd imagine we'd still see the parking lot of Dunkin' Donuts with just those trees still in place. So I would want probably like some sort of more foliage to block that out with like a taller landscaping, so we're not just looking straight into the parking lot. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks.
It's 6 foot. If you wanted to increase that, it would be another item for relief. But we can work on a landscape plan that kind of addresses kind of more of a vertical condition, so, yeah, before it goes to the board.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, my name is Juan Paz, and I live in 5145 Charlotte Avenue. I'm pretty much going to be neighbors with the new project that Dunkin' Donuts has. And I have many concerns about it because I moved to Skokie around 25 years ago because pretty much it was a quiet neighborhood. It was a dead end. The school was next to it. The people were here. My son went to that school. Charlotte is a dead end as well. So that was the main reason that I liked that property 25 years ago. And now I'm facing something that pretty much going to be changed the whole view that I have right now. And I have many issues. I discussed, I think, with you, somebody in your staff about that. And main things for me right now is, like it was mentioned, is the garbage. Right now, in the present time, we have a problem with the garbage. And September 20, the 21st, I think it's middle of September 21st, I call it serious cookie because we have a rat problems. And had pictures that even now is not attended. The door is broken. If you see a lot of times the garbage is open. So this is now. I don't know when you have a big crowd in there and more clients and everything. I don't know how they're gonna keep this up. So that is one of the main concerns. The other concern is that in the drawings, the garbage is going to be pretty much in my side of the street. So if I have rats in that path in the past, I don't know how they're going to try to fix that, because that is a situation that is not new, and the neighbors are here to mention that. Second is the noise. I don't know how it's going to be they explain us pretty much how it's going to be the speaker order and everything, but and maybe in the day you don't want to hear it, but this is a 24/7 operation. They're going to be having customers at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm pretty sure you're going to hear it. I hear it right now because they have a patio in there in the back right now, and I can hear it when the people are outside. Now the patio, I understand, is 400 square feet, and it's going to be closer to the neighbors on that side and closer to my side. So I can just imagine around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the night, there are going to be people pretty much hanging out there, having coffee, having a conversation. I mean, it's something that you cannot avoid. It's going to happen. So these are things that I really think is going to cut our privacy as a residential that was still now. So that's I think it's going to affect the whole neighbor that we are really close to the property, not to the neighbor maybe behind because they're not be that close, but we're going to be across the street. We're going to feel affected at that point. I will say privacy. Privacy, for example, for me is a big issue. I have nephews. I have people come to visit them, and we used to play soccer outside, or because my house is a little bigger than normal. So sometimes the ball, when you kick the ball, they go to the neighbor. Now what's going to happen? I'm going to hit somebody there because we're trying. So we're going to get limited to all these situations because it's not anymore a neighborhood. A residential neighborhood. It's going to be mixed with a commercial, which I understand exactly where they're coming from. I understand that the business has to continue in order to exist, but we need to see also for the other side, which is ours. So another thing that pretty much I heard, the lighting. I don't know how they're going to be. It's going to be affecting, the night. I don't know how they're going to be spotlights. I don't know how exactly the details about that. Again, little things, pollution, for example. You have cars in there all the time, parking, throwing all the fuel, all those gases in there. So those are little things that are definitely going to affect the environment that we're living. Again, the fence, I don't know, 6 foot, I just heard it from you that is the maximum that you can go. Like these neighbors, pretty much is going to be seeing everybody and doing everything, and then there is like you are there, it's like no more privacy no more. It's the little things that we should consider in order to have a license, but pretty much that's where all my concerns, and I hope you consider it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, there's another comment? Yeah. And by the way, did you, sir, you didn't put your name and address down, so we know the item of the village board meeting? Would you state your name and address, sir?
Yeah, my name is Vin Nguyen. I'm at 5120 Jarlatas. I'm probably one of the more recent ones into the neighborhood in 2017, and for those reasons of the cul-de-sac and the atmosphere being close to Fair Lake, or Fairview School District and the parks. That's what drew our family to there when my daughters went. So that was 2017. When I got this letter about Duncan wanting to expand, it really put like, it takes away the whole neighborhood, right? Like myself, I'm a restaurateur operator as well. I operate, 2 full sit-down city, and I operate, like about 30 other restaurants throughout. There was no, since 99 you said, or 89 since you owned it, how is there a comparison that it's a 70% loss if there's no relevant number to it? Okay. Okay, so it's just like, how can you put a number to something that you really don't have any historic value to it? Yes, we all suffered during the pandemic. We all lost. I lost a lot of money too, but it's life. It is what it is, You also saying that, acquiring 3 homes was a major feat, and I don't disregard that. I think that is a big deal to acquire 3 homes, but, there are a lot of families that are homeless and yet struggling to pay rent, but yet you want to destroy 3 beautiful homes to be able to expand a Dunkin' business. I'm sorry, I'm no offense, but I'm not a Dunkin' drinker at all. I've never had it, just one time, but no offense, like I said. So I just from a human standpoint of homelessness and poverty, and people can't even pay their rent, yet you have a family here that wants to destroy 3 homes for the sake of bigger bank accounts. You also said that the alley is a dead end currently. Technically, it's not really a dead end right now to Laramie. It's chained up and locked up. I don't know why. That's the only alley I've seen that have 2 poles and a swing in, and it's locked up all the time. I do want to use that alley sometimes to cut through Pep Boys or Orange Theory or go to that the park over there, but I can't take a vehicle through because it's always locked up. My theory is that Duncan has to do something with it that's kept it locked up. It's not physically locked up by any means. It's just if somebody cuts the bolt, it comes off. So her stating that it's locked up is false. And then, like I said, everybody's big concern is about trash, right? So if you look at a target audience of Duncan, we're looking between 18 to 25. That's kind of like the target audience of Duncan. So when you have an 18 and 25, sometimes they can get really rowdy. What the other residents said about they just want to mingle on a Friday, Saturday night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Luckily, I'm not right next door, and he is, so I don't hear the noise. So I have no, but I can only imagine that, 2, 3 in the morning, these 18-year-olds want to go and hang out at that parking lot. And I do see that during the day too. Even grown men just hang out in the parking lot all day long, just chit chat all day long. And I just wonder, like, they don't have jobs or something? It's like, so you imagine teenagers are doing the same thing. I don't think their concern is about trash either. They're just going to litter wherever they want to litter. Yes, on paper, it may look nice that you want to do 4 or 5 days of trash. In theory, yes, but I don't think you and your family are there on a day in, day out basis where you have employees, and employees are not as concerning about trash as an owner would be. Now, speaking that from experience, and because I gotten written up many times by the city, and even that's many times I told my employees, hey, can you pick up after yourself? And so it's just not in people's common sense nowadays to see a piece of trash and just pick it up. You just walk right by it. So yes, in theory, it looks great, 4 or 5 days. I have 4 or 5 days as well, and I still get from the neighbors as well. So I do my best as well to do that. So, and it's like we're in 2022, and if you own this property since 1990, you still say you're still finding a solution to the trash. I mean, you're at, 30 years, and you're still finding a solution to the trash. It's just, it's like, how many more years can you, if you just keep expanding the property, if you're not there on a daily basis, you'll never have trash under control, I tell you that, and that's speaking from experience. It's just, hiring the right staff will get it, but they can only do so much for minimum wage. They don't want to be in the cold. They don't want to sit there and pick up trash all day long. So I know it was all over the place here, and it was kind of more just going off, and they were concerned about the privacy as well, like a 6-foot fence. I mean, there's nothing for, I don't want to walk, I have 2 kids, I don't want to walk them and just see a 6-foot fence, even though it's board on board, it's 6-foot fence, even if you apply for a relief to 8 foot, now it just looks more like a jail. You know, you're just boxing yourself in more and more, and it's just, the beauty, like I said, the beauty of the neighborhood was just a whole cul-de-sac, everybody's home, and then there's 3 families there that could just, you know, had 3 kids growing up together, 3 new friendships between the parents. Now it's just taking it away. I just don't think it's something that's neighborhood friendly wise. You know, there's plenty of business opportunities, commercial space elsewhere.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Thank you. Mike, your name and address, please.
Yes, I'm Don Rosso, also a resident of 5156 Jarlath. We are literally directly across the street from the proposed site. As my wife already mentioned, the privacy issue is a major one for us. We purchased the home about 7 years ago that we moved to Skokie, loved the neighborhood. You know, we are literally the last home on a dead end, which was a big plus for us, right next to a park, residential area across the street, and now a big chunk of that is getting taken away. A fence is a great idea, but as has already been mentioned, we have an elevated grade. That is not going to make the neighborhood feel like I'm looking into somebody's backyard, which is kind of the impression that's been given here, and that's just not the case. Another major concern, and what I mostly wanted to supplement to what my wife has already said, is what this is going to do to property values. As they mentioned, you're extending a B2, the B2 business district literally right across the street. And to suggest that that isn't going to affect our property values is ludicrous. I'm no expert. I don't know what that number is going to be, but we're going to take a hit. And there's really, as a resident, there's not a lot of benefit that we are going to see. I understand the village will see increased benefits by the economy being boosted, by those tax revenues, but as a resident of the village of Skokie, we are seeing nothing but detriment from every aspect of this plan. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, your wife's already.
My wife's already on it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Sir, would you mind giving your name and address at the microphone, please?
Of course. Yes, my name is Andy Luchak, 5124 Jarlath Avenue, so I'm in the middle of the block. I guess most of the concern were already voiced. Oh, by the way, thank you for the donuts the other day, and I understand that you'd like to grow the business.
Sir, can you address the commission, please?
Yes. So my I guess not a concern, but my preference would be if I was to have a choice, I rather, when I walk to the park, I rather look at the 3 houses rather than fence. And another option also is I have a hard time understand why is it that we have to demolish 3 houses. Well, there might be plenty of other opportunities to grow maybe business at a different location. So those are the 2 things I'd like to mention.
Okay,
Thank you.
Put your name and the address on the sheet if you'd like
Sure.
to get those. Anyone else? Okay, I'm sorry, with the petitioner, there's been a lot of issues covered by residents. Do you want to address them?
Yes.
If you made a list, though, as I did, so. Mr. Chairman. Sure. So earlier today, we received an email, this one you look into record, and President, since you didn't have a chance to read it, I wanted to be sure you were aware, this paraphrases, received an email. Sorry.
It's a neighbor who lives across Tui in a house, so it's not in the back near Jarlath, it's across the road. They are opposed to the proposal. Their concern is additional air pollution created by vehicle emissions. They are concerned about commercial vehicles, delivery trucks and that sort of thing, using Laramie. And then they are also concerned about traffic congestion in that general area, Tui and Laramie, which is already an issue, they say. So that is pretty much a summary, but they are opposed to all of the cases.
Okay, I don't know if you made your own list, but I'll let you kind of go down it if you'd like, and then I've got, probably have some others.
Sure, and if I miss some, please remind me. First, first to the community, to the neighbors, I want you to know we are local operators. We are engaged. So just my dad actually goes to that store every single day. And so I know we seem like we might be big, but our office is in Skokie. We're there. We walk the neighborhood. You know, I met some of the neighbors on site. So we do have management systems to manage things. So for example, like the employees, we have group text, we have ways, we have pictures. So we do have a lot of management controls in place, and we are very engaged in our day-to-day operation. So, you know, we're not managing it from California, we're right here. So I want you to feel that level of confidence that we're here, we're easy to find, you know, and we want to make sure that this development, yes, it's important for our business, but we want to make sure that the community enjoys it. And we want to, so for example, with the development we did on Gulf Road, so we actually did take a vacant property and a house. We did develop it into a Dunkin' Donuts with the drive-through, I think, with Carrie and Steve at that time. And there's a house that's right next to us, only separated by a fence. There's no alley setback, there's no lawn, there's no street. It's literally Dunkin' Donuts, a fence, I mean, a small interior setback, right? But, and then their house. And they've seen their property values go up astronomically. So much to the point where we, you know, they're very happy where they live. And so, and we've seen this continually. So we've seen, and again, this is just anecdotally, right? You should talk to a broker if you have concerns about property value. But what we've seen time and time again is just that these types of investments into your neighborhood to beautify, right? So the existing Dunkin', to beautify the neighborhood, generally lead to increased property values. The fence, I want to make sure you guys know we are very open. We are very open to doing what we need to do to make sure that the community is happy with our screening. So as I mentioned to Matt earlier today, the higher fence thing had come up. We did canvass the neighborhood, and I said we're willing to do an 8-foot fence, and you know, Matt's response was, right now that's not code. So we are willing to go to 8 feet if that feels like it'll give the elevation needed. If there's deferring elevations that are needed, we're absolutely willing to go to that 8 feet, especially for the house across the street. There were concerns about lighting. We are very cognizant of lighting, and all lighting is, the site is lit. There are lights on the site, but we have done a photometric plan to ensure that light doesn't pass through to the houses, right? So the light stays on site, and it's really for the safety of the vehicles on the site. Patio, I know this wasn't a big thing, but you know, we'd be willing, and I think that the village of Skokie does have hours of operation guidelines for the patio, so it should not, I think it's either 11 p.m. or midnight, if you guys recall it offhand. But we will follow any of the guidelines, and if needed, we can restrict patio usage overnight, so that there wouldn't be a 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. You know, to help. I mean, I can't restrict neighbors having parties at that time, of course, but at least what we can do is on site, we can make sure that the patio, you know, we don't need the patio open late into the night. Okay, and I'll see if I have any more relevant. I know there were a lot of comments here, but I'll try to stick with the comments that have to do with the actual Dunkin' site plan. And
What about the rats and trash? I think
Okay,
that's a-
thank you for bringing that up. That was my number one right there. So we do have pest control companies. So we have licensed a Anderson Pest Control, for example, for this location that monitors rats and any type of rodent infestations or whatnot. So we did discover that at some point there were rat burrows. There were rats coming onto the property from a residential property. Okay, we had the pest company come out. We worked with the village of Skokie to ensure that obviously we do not want rats anywhere near us, and it's a very high concern if rats are even in the vicinity. And so we are very, very mindful of things like that. There was something that was discovered at one of the Jarlath homes, which I think was addressed because there was some vegetation, and that vegetation caused some rat burrows, but nothing on our actual site. But that has been addressed, and we'll continue to monitor it. And all of that, of course, that excess vegetation on that property gets cleaned up so that if there's anything that we weren't able to discover, all of that will get cleaned up with this development.
Can I interject? I just want to ask about this specifically. Is the existing enclosure around the trash of the same hardened variety that you're describing will
No.
be there in the future? So the existing structure is what, wood?
It's a fence.
Chain link fence?
No, it's a board fence, but there's no actual trash enclosure.
Okay, so but what you're proposing is a hardened trash enclosure
Yes.
made mostly from masonry?
Correct.
So that should improve the overall condition?
Yes.
I do want
thank
to add the standard for outdoor dining is at 11 PM, so, yeah.
Thank you. So we would abide by those guidelines, so we'll make sure that there's no overnight or late night patrons on the patio.
And the one of the other things was sound, and there are specific guidelines in the code relative to sound in terms of the ordering system.
Yeah, and there's a lot of studies that have been done, but by the time you get anywhere, even by the time you actually get to our parking spaces, the sound noise is negligible. It like versus like Tui, this you will not hear just because of the distance, and we were very mindful of that distance, right? So as soon as you get to 50 feet, 75 feet, 100 feet, there's the decibel level is negligible. Do you have those?
I don't have those exact numbers, but maybe sorry. Maybe if we bring the site plan up one more time, just to be really clear where the menu boards are.
Let's see, this is your, right, Matt? Let's see if you have it on here. Yeah,
There you go.
okay.
So to be really clear, screened by our almost 3,900 square foot building, these are the menu boards down here, and they face out on Tui Avenue. And one thing that we didn't talk about at length, standard queue for Dunkin' usually goes from one lane, divides into two, and then goes back into one. We purposefully have a double lane coming all the way down so that the staff, even at the busiest time, will probably never get past the front of the building. Because for Dunkin' standards, and we do them all over the place, it's a very aggressive stacking system. And one thing that Rita discussed as well, to make sure that the stacking never gets that far back and stays out of the residential side, is the 90 seconds from menu board to window, which is a Dunkin' standard that they maintain. So it's a fast moving line. So cars backing up is something that will, I'm not gonna say it'll never happen, but it will rarely happen at this location because we were very aggressive on keeping the stacking on that side, so it doesn't back into the drive, back into the streets, keeps the place moving and nice and clean.
Again, I think as Matt mentioned as well, there is B2 that aligns with our northern boundary and actually extends beyond that. For like Holiday Inn, their commercial northern boundary is aligned with the houses that are across on Jarlath, and it goes well beyond that northern boundary. So there is commercial that is going in that direction, and there is no fence, there is no, you can very clearly see the parking and the hotel from wherever you stand on Jarlath. And again, Jarlath will remain a dead end. No access points are being added there. I think, was there, In terms of the existing fence being, the existing alley, vacated alley being closed, Duncan has nothing to do with the existing alley being closed. That is something that's from the village of Skokie, that is not something that we have had any control over. I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that.
Okay. Thank you very much. So a couple things is, tell me what and how, relative to somewhat what I went over before, but Laramie, cleaning up making sure that the trash has the ability to be picked up more frequently, and, I'm sorry? Being monitored, yeah, and perhaps doing some type of relief relative to the height of the fence and/or landscaping to block off better from elevated.
I would address all of these through the site plan
Okay,
and add, I think you would have to add relief for the fence if it wants to go higher than 6 feet. But then add a condition that would give us the option to work through a landscape plan or additional height for the fence prior to the village board meeting. But I think I'm interrupted.
I'm a little concerned with added height for the fence being inconsistent with the rest of the community. I think you might be making the situation worse.
Yeah.
I'm making that comment more for the record than for advisement. The second thing that I would say, however, is that I do think that as part of that consideration, looking at landscaping to change that circumstance, because quite frankly, the other thing that I was concerned about vis-a-vis that fence is we are talking about 3 consecutive houses being replaced by.
Landscape plan to include a higher elevation.
No, the relief is to reduce the required parking and then to allow additional signage as per Appearance Commission. Yeah.
And we're adding these as additional requirements under the site plan?
The landscape condition would be added to the site plan conditions, and if you had any additional for the trash.
well, the trash on Laramie and the trash pickup to make sure that it's deemed appropriate relative to what the village is seeing.
Yeah.
Frequency. Okay, so. All right, I'd like to remind everybody, regards, real quick, if you would, so come up here. And keep in mind, everything other than
garbage. So I don't know if it's gonna be accepted or not, but in the case there is any possibility to move this, the location of the garbage somewhere else in the plants?
Sorry. The reason why we kept it where it is, because currently the garbage is being picked up. This is where it is now. Roughly, it's getting picked up here. And because the building for the drive-through, there's really nowhere else to really put the garbage for a successful pickup. It's really, the actual pickup location is probably moving 15 feet to the east from where it is now. But it will be, as mentioned by one of the commissioners, where it's not really enclosed right now. It's a masonry enclosure with metal doors on it. So it's be pretty stout for the enclosure as opposed to where it's kind of open now. Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so. Changes, correct? No, the site plan we're going to. Okay, so then is there a motion to accept the zoning amendment to changing to B2 commercial for those 3 lots? Is there a motion to accept the staff report as presented?
Motion to accept.
Commissioner Osley. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Matei. We'll do a voice vote. Commissioner Osley.
Yay.
Okay. Commissioner Shaw.
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
Aye.
Commissioner Matei.
Aye.
And I vote aye. The alley vacation, 2022-09P at all the mentioned addresses today. Is there a is there a motion to accept the report as presented? Mr. Matei, Commissioner Matei,
Second.
Commissioner Osley. And then let's do a voice vote again. Commissioner Osley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Matei,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. All right, site plan approval. This is where the modifications come in. So, Matt, do you want to basically reiterate what someone might be making a motion to accept?
So I think the first two motions would be to accept the relief. That would be for the reduction in the required parking spaces and then to allow additional signage as per the Appearance Commission.
Okay. And then the additional ones that we just verbally added?
Just the relief first, that has to be voted on
Oh, the
separately.
relief first. All right. So, but these other additional items we talked about are going to be relief, right?
No, they're going to be conditions in the,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So is there a motion to accept the two relief items that staff has recommended?
Motion to accept.
Commissioner Osley, is there a second? Mr. Matei, Commissioner Matei, we'll do a voice vote. Commissioner Osley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Matei, and I vote aye. Okay, so now we're adding some conditions
Yes,
to the site plan approval.
yes.
And those 2 or 3 conditions are to review landscape such that we change the light. I'm having a senior moment here. The line of sight relative to the parking area so it's not visible from an elevated first floor across the street if possible. 2 is to require that Laramie be included in their policing area at least every 4 hours. And 3 is that there be provisions such that the village can require that trash be picked up more frequently than 3 times a week.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, right? Okay. So, is there a motion for the site plan approval with those 3 was it 3 or 4?
3 additions.
3
Three
additional
addition.
modifications.
Motion to
Motion.
approve with the conditions of landscaping, which is concentrated on the north end and the sideline from the house across the street. Laramie policing area for garbage collection and control, and required trash removal in excess of 3 times per week if deemed necessary by the village.
Correct. Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Commissioner Shaw? Okay, we'll do a voice vote. Commissioner Osling?
Aye.
With the modifications, keep in mind.
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes to the modifications.
And the whole approval of not just the modifications, though, it's got to be to
To the 3 conditions,
with
right?
those 3 conditions?
Yes,
Okay.
with those 3 conditions.
Okay,
Approval of the 3 conditions.
and I'll approve with the conditions as well. Okay, 2022-11P, special use permit on Tui, requesting approval for special use for a drive-through for a Dunkin' Baskin-Robbins restaurant. Is there a motion to accept the staff report? That one's as presented, correct? Okay, as
Motion.
presented.
Motion to accept the staff.
Commissioner
report.
Shaw
Second.
and Commissioner Franklin seconds, thank you. Voice vote, Commissioner Osley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Matei, and I'll vote aye. And the last one is 2022-12P, special use permit, requesting approval for special use for outdoor dining, and this is subject to all of the hours and restrictions that are currently in the village code, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and Commissioner Franklin second. So voice vote, Commissioner Osley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Matei,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. So keep in mind again, folks, trying to accommodate everything that makes sense here. If you still have objections, you get another shot at it at the village board for everything other than the parking, which is final tonight. And by putting your name on the sheet, if I'm not correct, you will get notified of the impending village board meeting. Okay, thank you. So anyone like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight? Any other business?
Hang on.
No, we have more business?
Yes, a few things. There's a new department report on the
Okay.
agenda. Just to kind of discuss or bring your attention to items on the upcoming agendas. And then I also have something I wanted to mention. But first, This is
Good
a
night.
new.
Thank you all.
This is a new agenda format, if you haven't seen it. So we have the hearing notice, which is something different. This is an agenda which I think better meets OMA requirements, and we're gonna try to do this for the Appearance Commission and Zoning Board and, you know, everyone else that we report to. So, it has the call to order, you know, the approval of the minutes and all of that. It includes a Community Development Department report at the end. Hopefully, Paul in the future won't adjourn too quickly, which he always
Like I
does.
tried to do.
Like you did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, first, on the next agenda, April 7th, we have two items. One is 8143 Skokie. It's a city-owned property. The request will be a multi-story mixed-use building. It's right at the corner of Skokie and Cleveland. It's about 100 units. There's going to be a set aside for affordable housing. There's additional parking for the public. This is kind of a deal that we've been working on for a couple years, quite frankly, so. That's correct, yeah.
It's on the north lot?
The south, the bigger one,
South lot.
yeah.
So this is the lot where currently we're parking for our friends over at the laser tag place?
That's, well, it's not laser tag, but.
The gaming place.
Yeah.
Whatever I don't do at my, trust me.
In the 90s, it would have been.
So, now I gotta ask, what's the story?
What do you mean?
Where are these people gonna park?
Well, let's adjourn, let's go
Yeah.
through this and adjourn, and then if you guys want to have a conversation
Yeah.
about that, we can.
Part of that is the public parking that's being provided, the additional parking.
So there's gonna be an accommodation?
Yes.
And they were also gonna work with the ISTP to see if they could use the garage as well?
Correct?
But keep in mind, when that case was before us, you may not have been on, they indicated they weren't gonna need any parking because everybody's gonna take public transportation.
Exactly. I know that millennials don't get on trains much, but.
Right, but that was the whole argument, because we brought up parking at nauseam at the
Yeah.
time.
It took a while to meet all the requirements for this development, and that was one of them, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's multi-story and it's.
5 stories, yeah.
Apartments, condos?
Apartments, yeah,
Apartments, all rental,
yes.
and there'll be affordable housing.
4 or 5 units, yeah, it's 5%, yeah. So, the other item is the text amendment, which, if you recall, we came forward with text amendments in December, and then Carvana kind of happened, which took some time, so I delayed. I'm moving forward. We're not quite ready with the massage therapy or the vape shops, but I am moving forward the kind of the general one, which is going to include a broad change to the B4 district. There's several items like parking and that sort of thing that we're gonna take a look at. What is the other, we're adding solar requirements, specific solar requirements in the code. Solar panels are currently permitted, but I think several people kind of looked at the code and said we should really be explicit about how we're permitting solar requirements. The other thing, so that's on the April 7th agenda. The other thing I wanted to mention, so I'm gonna be presenting before the Sustainable and Environment Commission next week, and specifically talking about kind of sustainable items within land use and development. And some of the things, they're an advisory commission, and some of the things that we might take a look at in the future. So we've made some efforts. There's a lot of discussion about the Amazon petition last fall, and then also Carvana recently. They're doing a lot of work. They're gonna update they just got done with a greenhouse gas inventory. They're gonna update the sustainability plan this year. But in the meantime, we're thinking about amending the comprehensive plan to include some of these sustainable items, kind of like an environment or a sustainable chapter of the comprehensive plan. So that would be a good first step as far as kind of our role, or the Plan Commission's role, when it comes to sustainability.
Would there be parameters for size of and scale of project? So they're not gonna be a large burden, so to speak, on a smaller development versus a large development?
Well, for now, the scope will be in regard to the existing sustainability plan, which a lot of our review is already embedded in the permit process. So that's kind of the reach of, this current effort. What comes out of the second part, which is by the end of the year, I'm not sure what the parameters will be, but yeah, that's a good point. And we don't want to penalize small business owners, so.
Right.
Yeah, so that's, it's well taken, yeah. And then, I don't know, Carrie, do you have other items? Yeah.
Okay, and I just realized I screwed up because I didn't think I had these green sheets. So am I supposed to do something with them?
Well, you were.
Did fine job.
You can bring them home and finish them, and then,
I can do that.
yeah.
I got
You
PDF.
probably don't have
them.
enough.
Huh?
You probably don't even have enough.
Marlene won't be back till Monday, so you have a few days. But after that,
Because with the relief votes, you're
Yeah.
probably short anyway.
They have a recording now, they can.
Yeah, they're recording it.
Yeah,
We could-
we can handle it.
You guys got it?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. No one, other than Tyler did ask about the green sheets. About a third of the way through the first case, no one mentioned green sheets.
In your meeting, you didn't mention it?
No, well, if you'd been there,
That was
we
the
would have
most
talked
important
about
part.
it. Matt didn't come to our meeting beforehand. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Thank you all for hanging in there, and appreciate everything.
I think, Jeff, you're gonna have to watch this meeting again on YouTube to fill out your green sheet.
I think Carrie and Matt just volunteered to do my green sheets for me, so thank you.
I think
But if you want to.
No, that's okay, that's okay.
Nice job.
You're gonna be
Jeff.
laying around for a couple of days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
I'll
That's
do it
what
for you,
you
don't
wanna
worry.
do.
Next time I'll remember the green sheets.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Has every